All right, as you can see, guys, I am out of town in a different location here. I'm traveling and brought along something that I'm gonna give you guys a first impressions review on. Something that I say as often, this might be the most requested product to review on the channel, and or it's something people have asked me to check out in future videos, and that is this Beyond Power Voltra 1. This will just be my initial first impressions, although I've had this for a few weeks and I probably can say a lot of it that I don't think will change too much over time. I mostly can see in the future me finding some new things and or maybe identifying any other weak points that I'll definitely update you guys as time goes on. But I thought at this point, having it for a few weeks already, using it with my squat rack, using it with the Footplate, which I think as of right now, I'll just say this, is my favorite way to use this type of machine, especially now confirming that as I'm kind of traveling and making a lot of use out of it. I'll give you guys kind of a rundown of the basic features because there's a lot of features in this little unit. And if you guys don't know what this is basically is a portable electronic cable machine. I've covered a lot of electronic devices on the channel, like various foot plates that were electronic, from the Speedience one. There was a couple other on Amazon that were cheaper, budget ones. Some that had more of a center pull, and I'll talk about this. There's a couple, one or two that were cheaper that I actually liked a lot because it had a center pull. And this one, using this Footplate with a center pull is really good versus having two out on the side. So I'll mention that with some of the exercises on here. And then you guys definitely see me review things such as the Speedience, Gym Monster, and other electronic devices. So no stranger to electronic devices and electronic forces that kind of give off. And also some of the features such as this thing can be an isometric device. It tracks different metrics like peak velocity, does eccentric mode, has of course the regular mode up to 200 pounds. It actually even does two different chains modes of variable resistance, so like a regular variable resistance and then a reverse chains or reverse variable resistance where it's heavier at the bottom and then lighter up top. There's a lot of firmware updates that have already gone on since I've even just gotten this so far. So you guys can stay tuned for that, other updates as we kind of go along here. If I didn't say this up front, I will say I forgot to say this up front too, that this was sent to me free for review. So I'm extremely grateful for that. Company though was very straightforward. It's saying we want to get this in your hands, we want to have you try it. Be as honest and forthright as you get if you want to. They did give me an affiliate link, so I'm appreciative of that. If you guys do want to check this out now or in the future, I'll link that down below in the description box. Help support me and the channel. But as always, I'm going to shoot from the hip, guys, and tell you my honest thoughts about it. And I do think, even though it's been a relatively short period of time, a few weeks, I do think, at least for my thoughts on how I personally use it, I think other people, I can give you guys an idea of where I think this thing really shines and where it doesn't, or kind of falls short. Now they sent me one unit, which is still expensive. It's roughly $2,000. They gave me this lightweight barbell that goes alongside the Footplate, which is definitely a nice distance, nice and wide. You can adjust the various dimensions if you want to go lengthwise or widthwise with the unit. They also gave me their slide mount, which I do not have a 3x3 rack that has lateral holes in it, so I cannot use that yet. I'll mention for most people, that's probably where this thing is really kind of built for. And then there's also the strap-around mount, which does definitely work, and you can strap to a variety of surfaces, but I think it might be a little cumbersome for some people's use to just to kind of use it for here and there, different functions. All right, I'm gonna show you guys the ins and outs and some pieces about this. I might as well show you guys the case it comes in. Very cool. Everything about this product does kind of scream quality, kind of reminds me of like a Apple-based product, but this is more like a styrofoam, I guess, minus this thing. It does give you kind of a nice charger dock and everything like that. Quickly gonna show you a nice up-close feature of the barbell. This is nothing totally big to write home about. Not sure what material this is. This spins loosely, but very, very light. Give you guys a shot of the Footplate here too, what that looks like. Has this nice, good quality here. Very thick on the side, this hard, almost feels like maybe a bamboo. Very heavy, very solid. Has some grips down there as well. They also seem like they are, you know, quality in the way it's kind of put on there. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the unit here in a second, but normally what I do is this thing is pulled in here. I just find it always likes to bang against the screen, so I always just kind of pull it out. This way when you're holding it, it's not bumping against the screen, which it likes to do. So I'm gonna double tap this. See, it kind of spools back in. Now I'm going to show you how you can seal it in. So it's ready to kind of lock onto any device. So with the Footplate, you can go this way or this way. We'll just put it in here. Probably the coolest thing, most satisfying, is how this thing locks in. Battery life is excellent compared to any other electronic device that I've used so far. I've used past ones that literally you drain out every single workout. This, I've done multiple workouts and do not find I have to recharge it. And when you do recharge it, it goes pretty fast if you're using their charger. All right, from this screen, I will show you a couple things so far. There is a isometric test and also isokinetic mode. Keeps the constant tension that you set for that, for isokinetics. Isometric test is a little self-explanatory. I can kind of pull up here, and if I wait a little bit, it'll give me some feedback after I'm done with it. Settings option, there are some advanced things such as different modes that put some governors on the max resistance, and also you can see max additional eccentric. Even that is something you can kind of tweak as you kind of go along, more for safety, but there is some default settings once you first start getting here. Even this direct load option, so there's a way, if I have this on and off, I can put direct load when the cable is already out. I've done that for a couple things, but probably for most exercise you won't have to, but that is something that is not set. Beginner mode is usually set right when you get it out of the box, so you can only put this thing up to 100 pounds. This one, the mode goes a little bit higher, looks like to, oh, I'm sorry, this is max, so resistance, max resistance is 100 pounds, on normal, beginner is 50, and then sport, you can go to full, 200 pounds for your max resistance. There's even a child safety setting as well. Tells you your battery health, also cable health, which that might put a sour taste in someone's mouth. Oh, it's nice to hear, but this is something just to be identified at, just like if you had some sort of car sensor telling you when you gotta get an oil change. This is something kind of similar. I don't think the cable price was crazy in what the replacement was, and this cable is almost like a very fine kind of rope material. All right, so in weight training mode, I had it set already at, there's this intensity mode, which I think just gives you a little bit more aggression. I couldn't notice too much of it. I have the assist mode off. I have it set for the scroll mode. There's also a step mode. Then you can do 1, 5, or 10 pound increments. But if I were to load this here, you notice this is what it means. I can scroll. I'm gonna try to get closer, you can hear this. So it has this nice little feedback that I like. And every time you hit it, you hear this little slight vibration as you're doing that. So I can do that in 5 pound increments. I can also hit it here. And you can pin certain weights that you want to have set here. Otherwise, I can just come in here and put I'll just do the max here and put 200. So that's the max weight. And it is set for 200 pounds right there. Right now it's loaded. You tap it to turn it off or turn off the resistance. What's nice about this versus other machines, you don't hear this fan just automatically running. So if I go down to, say I'll put it down to 20 again, 25. It's not really running until I start going and it's giving me that resistance. Then you hear that fan going. And then if I stop, it's not going. But if I want to just, it's still loaded at this point when it's solid. And if you want, you can do this step mode, which it allows you just to make 10 pound steps at a time versus the adjustments that way. You also have peak power and peak velocity if you want to see this. So let's just show, if I show you peak power, and I'm going to go down and make it lighter here. And if I go to load it, just yanking it like that, you can show your peak power output at 74 watts. So that's pretty cool. A lot of different features there you guys can mess with. Then here you actually can set your cable length on where you want to set this. So let's say I want to set it here. The weight will not start until I start pulling from this setting. So I think that's kind of cool. Okay, then it just stops right there. If you want to go ahead and turn that off, you just kind of give it a little pull and we'll recoil it right back. Now, if you're into resistance bands and footplate training, like I know a lot of my audience is, this is very cool in my opinion. So you can set your max resistance. So let's just say, go ahead and set it. Gives you your max of what that would be, say, at the top position as I'm pulling this. So if I want to make this, of course, harder, I just set that max weight. So arguably the issue with resistance bands is you never really know the tension you're pulling, or at least variable resistance training, and that kind of drives some people crazy, or they're trying to really find the art of figuring out what that exactly is. Here, you always kind of know the variable resistance you're working at. And then you have other ways of fine-tuning the progressive range of motion, the band length. You also have different force curve options. You do have the quick adjust from either 1 pound, 5 pound, and 10 pound. Then you have different resistance curve from this power law to a logarithm. You have the resistance experience again. You can make that intense. You can make the resistance mode an inverse, meaning that as I pull It's heavier at the bottom. This is kind of like the reverse chain option you saw on the regular resistance band setting. So it's light here, and the heaviest it's getting at the bottom. So that's also a very cool feature, I think, for a lot of people. The Beyond Power Voltra was probably designed more so with the rack in mind. If you do not have a cable system and you just have a 3x3 rack, this is really cool. I think for being able to adjust it and use it in a variety of ways. I think for strapping it up to someone who already has a functional trainer and a rack, I don't think you'd really need that. I'm thinking of like training facilities or something like that where you can maximize and use a lot of the technology. I think that's also definitely a cool feature. My personal thoughts are if you already have a cable rack machine, there are some different things such as features you can take advantage of tracking the various metrics and using the technology you guys saw here so far. I just don't see a lot of people, if you have a cable mounted machine or functional trainer, sorry, that you're really going to get the most out of this or really appreciate it. At least that's my thoughts about it. Because I think just for the setup and ease and just being able to like not deal with technology and pull a pin, that's probably gonna be easier for you. And I personally found it to be the case as well. I didn't feel like I really used it as much on my cable mounted machine. It was just something I kind of plugged in to want to try. It is extremely responsive, but not as responsive as a free weight. When you kind of pull on it, you're getting that immediate feedback. There is always like this slight kind of very, very gradual, like as full as you pull out, you can feel as it wants to kind of pull you right back in. There's like a little bit of a mini lag time in that. So the point is, it's a little bit of a different type of resistance that you're going to get. Where I'm really loving this is with the Footplate. So when I was traveling and thinking about what I was going to throw in my bag here, I was considering resistance bands, considered the suspension trainer, that NOS suspension trainer I recently showed you guys. But I figured I wanted to keep using this thing, and this is where I think it really shines. This is going to be way too expensive, and for some people, this is not going to be worth the value for, let's say, traveling or something like that. Now, if you got some extra money to throw around and you want to do that and take advantage of something that is very cool, this could fit the bill. I'm actually thinking of the people that are into the bamboo bar type setups that I've covered in past videos. They're already dropping maybe close to half the price of this, not to mention you start throwing in accessories. I know people that have resistance band setups with a Footplate that is close to $2,000 when they think of all the accessories. And so when you think about, yes, this has parts that fail, this has a lot more other things you can do with it, such as the isometric mode, ways that you even manipulate the chains or variable resistance that I showed you earlier. Not to mention it goes up to 200 pounds. That is very, very tough. And so while you can arguably say that this might have to be replaced, will be replaced at a certain period of time, the same thing is going to go with resistance bands. What I actually like about this, and I've said this before on another electronic board-based system that I use, is that I like the center pull or center channel. There was a couple of products I reviewed in the past that had a center channel, and I like that kind of vertical straight pull that's pulling you straight down for a variety of exercises. So the squat harness with this thing pairs almost exceptionally well. Probably the best use of my squat harness so far was on this Beyond Power Voltra. It gave off this really just consistent pull right towards the center that I actually tried replicating with some Iron Master dumbbells. I'll throw a shot of that. That was actually somewhat comparable, so it wasn't exactly the same thing, but just center rigging that I think worked out really well. My man Jason over at Rip by Rosenblatt sells at squatharness.com. Shameless plug, I do have an affiliate link with them. He actually told me this. He actually the first one to really turn me on to this and said, you gotta check this out and try it because I know you're gonna love it. And I think he was right about that. So my overall first impression so far is that this thing is very, very cool. It is awesome. It is very expensive. I totally understand all the pushback from this product, and I'm sure other products will get. They're electronic based, is that you got to replace the battery. We know the lifespan of these things. It only has a year warranty. Replacement parts such as the battery, I believe, was almost $400. So that's a lot of money. It is not the lightest thing in the world. It's probably the biggest electronic thing that I've used so far. If you're looking at it for a travel option or some other versatile options, it can be a little cumbersome in some regards. It's rigging it to certain things, and there's no door anchor, at least so far that I've seen so far. But for a travel device with a Footplate based system, that's to me where I'm getting the most use out of this. For someone who has a functional trainer and doesn't even use that as much, I don't foresee myself really taking the time to set the different settings, especially with a strap around mount, to actually go ahead and attach this, unless I want to do some unique novel things that I'll probably create in the future, maybe rigging something or taking advantage of the technology in here. But otherwise, I really foresee myself using this as a travel device and or a Footplate based device that could take the place of my resistance bamboo bar type setups, just because the feeling, the sensations, and what you can do with this are actually better in my opinion. I also like the center pull of this. Those are my thoughts about it, guys. You're gonna see probably a lot more of this in the future backdrop of videos, like if he has a long-term review about this and see how it holds up. I'm gonna keep putting it through its paces as I have been doing for the past few weeks. If you do wanna check out and pick up any Beyond Voltra unit, help support me in the channel. I'll put a link down below if you guys are curious. Otherwise, let me know what you guys' thoughts about this are, and I will see you guys in the next video.